Thank you. Thank you. What a crowd. Firefighters, you rock. Thank you for the kind introduction. Denny and I have known each other for a long time, back to my days in Arizona. He was the fire chief of the third largest city in that state, and he is, of course, a guiding force here at the Congressional Fire Services Institute. I'm also glad to see some of the other individuals who are here this evening, leaders of fire and emergency services from across the country, from career and volunteer firefighters to chiefs, investigators, prevention specialists, public educators, and all of the other elements that comprise America's fire service. There are also individuals in the audience who have done a lot to help lead our country's efforts when it comes to fire service issues. These include the leadership of the Congressional Fire Services Caucus. Specifically, we have here Representative Peter King, Senator Tom Carper, I understand Senator McCain was here earlier. Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Representative Bill Passerell, Representative Rob Andrews, Congresswoman Joanne Emerson. If I've left out anyone, it's only because their name isn't on my notes, or in my notes. But let's give them all a hand. Really, really great stuff. And really what the caucus demonstrated and what that list of names evidences is that fire and fire services are bipartisan. The caucus is one of the largest bipartisan, bicameral caucuses on the Hill, and that is a testament to their efforts. I want to thank all of you for what you do for the first responders here this evening. Now, I know that IAFF President Harold Schaefberger can't be here tonight, but I have appreciated his friendship and leadership in the fire services and for being a valuable member of our Homeland Security Advisory Committee. And then last but not least, Bill Webb deserves a tremendous amount of credit in making the Congressional Fire Services Institute a highly respected voice for the combined fire service in Congress and with the administration. Now, I have to say, I speak at a lot of dinners. Sometimes they can blend together. Certainly the cuisine does. But this is among the most memorable podiums I ever stand behind. And I am, as I might say, always glad to speak with a group of firefighters. Ever since my days as an attorney general and as a governor, I've always enjoyed great partnerships with firefighters who are tremendous community leaders and community assets on a whole range of issues. So let's give ourselves and yourselves a hand. Come on. Now, when I arrived in Washington last year, I knew one of our top priorities was to forge stronger partnerships with state and local governments, including fire and emergency services. And one of the parts of that is to make sure that we are doing all we can to support you in your important work. Because in many ways, you are the face of Homeland Security in this country. Now, my department may have the title Department of Homeland Security. I may have the title Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. But if you ask people who they expect to show up if something happens, it's not me. It's you. It's you. So today, the fire service has evolved, and it's evolved very importantly, into an all-hazards response, whether it be a fire, a hurricane, a tornado, a flood, a terrorist attack, a hazardous materials response, a tactical rescue, or anything else. The first people on the ground to help are the local emergency and first responders, and that is the group represented in this hall this evening. So all of our Homeland Security strategies begin with that fundamental fact. And a lot of the work on the ground to make our communities safer is done by all of you. It's why you're held in such high regard around the country, and why you truly embody what the concept of public service is all about. So the question we ask at Department of Homeland Security headquarters in Washington is, how can we help you? How can we make sure that our nation's first responders have the support they need to do their jobs to the fullest? Well, the first thing we can do is to install people in leadership positions who truly understand the challenges that you face. I think this is something we have already done. President Obama made a great choice for FEMA Administrator in Craig Fugate, who has a multi-decade career as a leader of first responders in Florida and knows better than anyone else how the federal government needs to work and intersect with state and local first responders. Craig's been on the job for a year, and he's doing a fantastic job. The President also nominated Kelvin Cochran as the FEMA Fire Administrator. He took his position last August. Yeah, y'all know Kelvin. And what Kelvin and his staff are doing is leading the effort to ensure that the fire service in our country is ready to take on new and evolving threats. And indeed, our country faces new and evolving threats each day. And there's no one better to be in that position than Kelvin. Now, a second thing that we can do is to help make sure that you have the resources that you need. And I know this is a huge concern right now because of the fiscal situation in the states and in the counties and cities and towns and in Indian country and territories around our country. We know that fire services need adequate funding to do the best job that they can. And it's no secret that money's a little tight right now. So the administration is devoted to programs that are aimed to make sure that career firefighters keep their jobs and to help fire departments build modern infrastructure. One of the ways that we are doing that is through the staffing for adequate fire and emergency response through the so-called SAFER grants. The President is very committed to the SAFER program. We have doubled the funding for that program from $210 million in fiscal year 2009 to $420 million in fiscal year 2010.